me. Roger, is he cutting out for you?
Oh, really?
A little bit.
Oh,
Okay.
what is happening? Just a second. No.
It's because it said something
Okay.
about the Finnish news.
When did it start cutting out?
Kind of when you, I mean,
When I joined?
Yeah, but I thought then it stopped for a while, but it just happened again.
Okay.
Kind of sounds like Wi-Fi issues, but
Well, yeah, I am Wi-Fi connected, but I always am. It's a pretty strong connection and pretty fast. I mean, I'm very close to the Wi-Fi network. Is it still doing it, or
No,
is it better now?
It's been fine since we mentioned it.
Okay.
Because that's how it works. It's just like a car. My car does this, and you bring the mechanic. It's not doing it.
It makes that noise when I'm in third gear, and it's not doing it.
Oh, that's just your wife grumbling.
you didn't like my carbonara.
Ah, I love carbonara. I love food. I love eating.
Me too.
I should have done it before the show.
Me too.
Eating way too much. It's kind of like one of my only comforts now that I have a baby, but it's not an excuse.
As you get older and all the things that used to delight you when you were younger lose their luster, food sticks around. It's ridiculous. Like there was all sorts of things I would have been like, I would have gone monkeys over when I was younger, and it's like,
I'll have a sandwich.
There's a new Power Rangers. Like I don't care. That doesn't make sense.
Well, I still get pretty excited about a new Marvel movie, but you know what's better than a Marvel movie?
What?
A Marvel movie with a chocolate bar in your hand. That's even better.
I don't like eating during movies. That's I have a thing. I can't.
Well, okay.
Distracting.
You don't eat popcorn during a movie?
No.
Well, I don't eat popcorn at home, but at the theater, I always do.
Well, that's because you're a nice person who's kind of helping out the theaters that need the revenue from popcorn too.
Exactly.
You don't want them to go out of business. That's really just a nice gesture.
So, for the show, do you want to read or do you want to? I can play the intro with this patron intro. Sarah,
up to you. Whatever you like.
Let's do a patron intro.
Okay.
And then we'll just have you read tomorrow. That'll cover the week.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So we're coming, and so I'll start at 30. Everyone ready?
Ready. Yes, absolutely.
Everyone recording and all that?
I'm recording.
Oh, I'm recording. Now I'm recording. There you go.
Okay. 3, 2.
Only you can keep the Daily Tech News Show independent. To find out more, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018. Tom Merritt is out this week from Studio Feline. I'm Sarah Lane.
And from the Finnish headquarters in Finland, I'm Patrick Beja.
You're like, if anything looks any different for those on video, I've been working on my studio all weekend. So good updates to come on that. Producer Roger Chang, I don't know if you've done any updating on your studio setup, but
I changed the sheets this weekend.
Well, that's important.
It's always important. No one wants to sleep in leftover whatever that you. We should just go on with the show before it gets very awkward.
Too graphic.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about some tech things you should know. Sources tell the Wall Street Journal and Reuters that the U.S. may strike a deal to lift its ban on U.S. firms supplying parts to ZTE. As you probably recall, ZTE was given a 7-year ban back in April, which hampered its operations in a big way. As part of the deal, China could remove tariffs on imported U.S. agricultural products and agree to buy more American farm goods.
I'm not sure I understand what's happening there, but
a trade deal. Perhaps.
Maybe it was a very smart, clever move. Maybe.
Tit for tat?
Microsoft and Google disclosed a new CPU security vulnerability. They keep coming, it seems. Similar to Meltdown and Spectre, it's called Speculative Store Bypass Variant 4 and affects modern CPUs. Intel has started rolling out updates to OEMs with broader availability in the coming weeks.
And something that Patrick was watching earlier today, Mark Zuckerberg appeared before the European Parliament today. Members of the Parliament asked the CEO pointed questions about regulation, competition, taxes, security, disinformation, and privacy, and so on. The format of the hearing allowed Zuckerberg only a few minutes to answer a lot of questions.
And they asked them in a row, and he answered everything at the end. So it felt a little bit disjointed. I thought there were some interesting parts of the US hearing. And I think some of the questions and some of the representatives were pretty well versed in the important parts of the business. I didn't quite feel that way with the EU one. I was a little bit disappointed, a lot disappointed. I might have wanted to flip my table at some point or hit people with fish and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, now you know how Patrick feels. Let's talk a little bit more about Instagram. Instagram added a mute feature so you can stop seeing photos in your feed. Let's say somebody's annoying or otherwise you don't want to see their photos, but you don't have to unfollow the user. Instagram said that it added the feature to make you feel more personalized, blah, blah, blah. We've also heard it may be a useful tool for managing complex social dynamics, a rep told BuzzFeed. I would say so, probably with Instagram. So after you mute somebody in the feed, you can still see their DMs, you can DM each other, and you can still look at their photos if you go directly to their profile page. Not unlike what I do with Tweetbot.
Well, I think you can. Can you mute people on Twitter? Wait, I thought you could. No, I guess you can.
Well, see, I don't use any Twitter client. I use Tweetbot. And I believe you're right. I believe Twitter now offers that. And Facebook also offers something similar where you can unfollow somebody, but you're still friends. So there's no kind of, a rift between people.
It's kind of, we say that every time one of these apps adds one of the features that the other ones have, but really Instagram is turning into a genuine, real social network. It feels like it's not just about sharing pictures anymore, even though that's obviously the primary way of doing it. But muting someone, do you really mute someone if you don't want, I guess you don't want to see their pictures? But maybe it's useful for people
if you don't want to see their pictures, but you don't want to be rude, right? It's some sort of passive aggressive, like half solution. The thing about Instagram that I've always, I don't know. I know you can figure out who's following you if you're like scrolling through, who follows you and who other people follow. But that's a cumbersome process, especially if you're, above like a couple hundred people. So I don't know. Maybe a lot of people are getting really bent out of shape about being unfollowed on Instagram.
Oh, it's possible, yeah. But then you have to act like you know what they posted. Like if they speak to you, they're like, "Oh, hey, that picture I posted last week?" And you say, "Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, that picture with the things in the photo, absolutely."
See, I always just say, "Oh no, the new algorithm. I don't see anybody anymore. I'm so sorry."
All right. Well, Comcast announced its own Wi-Fi extender devices called X-Fi pods that help boost Wi-Fi signals throughout the home. Comcast licensed the technology from mesh router maker Plume, which Comcast invested in last year, and then built its own hardware. Plume's pods were initially available in limited markets, including Boston, Chicago, and Denver. Today, on Plume's website, a pack of 6 is $329, but Comcast's pack of 6 is $199.
How Amazon of them, huh? So Comcast invests in Plume, licenses technology, kind of, does a little stuff on their end, and now undercuts Plume by quite a big margin.
Is that, you think, something they didn't discuss with Plume?
I don't know. What I do know is that people say that if you're in, especially if you're in a house where there's, I don't know, you have multiple floors where it's very wide, you might have Wi-Fi issues. And the idea behind these pods are to plug in a bunch of them in little electrical outlets throughout the home so that you have a very short distance of better Wi-Fi. I love that.
It's a clever approach to mesh networking. You don't have like 2 or 3 big satellites. You have a bunch of tiny little things that you plug into the the socket. It's pretty clever. I wonder if you can use Comcast's XFi even if you're not on Comcast. I guess you can, but then it's a really interesting solution for a good price, I suppose.
What? Yeah, that's a good question. I know that Plume hardware and Comcast internet software work in tandem, but it sounds like Comcast is like, well, we'll just make our own, and maybe we'll,
Can you go at a Comcast store website and buy a 6-pack and then use it for your own network? I guess maybe you can. I don't know. That's a interesting question.
We will follow up tomorrow. Speaking of Comcast, this is actually some bad news for Comcast. Kind of terrible news, actually. A bug in Comcast website, a specific website used to activate Xfinity routers, can be tricked into displaying the home address where the router is located, also the Wi-Fi name, and also the Wi-Fi password. The researchers who discovered the bug said only a customer ID and the customer's house or apartment number is needed. That could be something you could find in a discarded bill or in an email. Comcast has removed the option from its website for now.
Well, it went well. They were made aware of the issue. They removed it. That's how it should work, right?
Well, but I mean, isn't it sort of, well, it was a website specifically dedicated to activate routers, right? And now somebody who was, if they wanted to, or so inclined and, good enough of a sneak, could get a lot of information about where you live, your Wi-Fi password. I mean, that's. I
know. But I mean, anytime I see one of those stories and I see people getting bent out of shape because someone obviously made a dumb mistake when coding the website, I tend to think, sure, it's silly. It shouldn't have happened. But who has never made one mistake like this? When in your work, and most of the time you kind of, no one notices, or like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I fixed it, and it's fine. But
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I just wanted to jump in here. I think part of the issue is that considering all the customer data breaches, you would imagine, especially a company that as one of its core business models is to sell internet connection service, should be a little more cognizant and a little more careful about things like websites that aren't secure or perhaps leaking customer information. The thing is, you're right. It's not necessarily like the worst thing to happen, but it could definitely, if you know anything about Comcast, it generally has a pretty high end of favorability rating in certain regions of the country. It already adds a negative perception to the company that, hey, if you can't take care of the small stuff, granted, it's not major like your social security number or credit card number, but it is, it is part and parcel of your home, your router password, your router ID. I
mean, I understand, but I'm not saying, oh, it's fine. No, it's not a problem at all. I'm just saying, I'm guessing they do worry about these things. They do, especially with the data breaches that have been happening in the recent months and the focus that has been on them. I'm pretty sure I'm hoping they went and tried to make sure everything was in order. And this must have slipped through the cracks. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. And I'm just saying, he who has never made a mistake, throw the first stone. I don't think a lot of stone would be thrown in the world, but.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, of course, Comcast didn't do this on purpose, but if somebody's like right outside my house and they know where I live and they can get my signal because they have my information, I mean, at the very least, even if they weren't stealing anything besides that, don't steal my Wi-Fi.
It's just a lot of ifs. And Roger seems unsatisfied.
I have a personal, full disclosure, I have a personal beef with Comcast because I used to use them as my broadband provider. We'll not go into a long story, but we have history.
Understandable. All right. Epic Games announced it will put up $100 million of prize money for the 2018-2019 season of Fortnite competitions. In the same blog post on Epic Games site adds, We're getting behind competitive play in a big way, but our approach will be different. We plan to be more inclusive and focus on the joy of playing and watching the game. Stay tuned for more details about competitive structures and eligible platforms in the weeks ahead.
$100 million. My goodness. I mean, who wouldn't have fun if that was
golly gee? Yeah, I know.
You're going to get at the end of it. Wow. So Patrick, how much have you played Fortnite? What is your opinion on its extreme popularity?
It's a good game. I've played a little bit. I haven't played a lot. It's a good game that benefited mostly from the fact that it was free to play, available on all platforms, and incredible popularity with the kids. If you don't know what Fortnite is, ask your 10-year-old. They will know, believe me. That is all they can think about all day. We might actually do something in talking about this in a little bit. More details for DTNS lab stuff, possibly. But yeah, Fortnite is very, very popular. It's a good game. Excellently crafted, and this 100 million, it's not unheard of. These kinds of numbers have been seen in some other games, but it's certainly up there, and especially for a game that really just blew up now. It blew up maybe 6 months ago, and a little bit more, and already they're putting up 100 million. This makes you wonder how much they're making every day, if that kind of money is something they can throw around for competitions.
Well, if memory serves, we talked about Fortnite after it came to iOS raking in something like $50 million in
a couple
purchases
of weeks,
in the first couple of weeks, and it's coming to Android the summer. So clearly they're making a lot of money. It's very, very popular. I would love to know what competitive gaming and being inclusive and focusing on the joy of playing is different than other competitive gaming structures we've seen before.
Yeah, that's an interesting. It's an interesting choice of words. I'm very curious as well. The thing is, for most esports, you have a clear narrative that can develop, and that is easy to watch, or relatively easy to watch. You have, two teams, one against another, two players, one against another. The games are relatively understandable. Blue has to kill red, etc., etc. In Fortnite, the Battle Royale game mode is 100 players get dropped in, and then the last survivor wins. And in order to make that into an esport, it's a little bit more challenging. Like, where do you get, do you get 100 people in the arena, in a sports arena, and film them? And do you follow one player on camera for the people who are viewing, but then that player dies after 20 minutes and you don't know what the other ones have been doing and how they've been progressing? It's a little bit complicated. So I'm guessing it might have to do with that. Like, let's focus on the joy of playing, meaning we're going to be watching everyone. It's not going to be necessarily like the last person wins. Yes, that's going to be important, but not the only focus.
Epic Games. This will be fun. This will be fun. 100 million. I mean, that is some of the biggest prize money I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I think Dota did a little bit more, but Dota 2, but yeah.
Yeah.
Usually
Amazon. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, usually it's well under 100 million. Like, a few dozen millions is already a huge amount.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon is providing facial recognition technology to law enforcement in both Oregon and Orlando, Florida, according to documents obtained by the ACLU through a Freedom of Information Act request. Amazon is said to be advertising and selling this product. It's called Recognition with a K, to law enforcement agencies for a very low price. The ACLU and several civil rights organizations have submitted an open letter to Amazon asking the company to stop, arguing that mass surveillance could disproportionately affect vulnerable communities.
I wonder what's in it for Amazon.
Well, I mean,
playing nice with the government, getting data from the things they're facial recognitioning.
It's a good question, Patrick, really, because it's like, okay, well, there's technology. Amazon, if you're offering it at a low price to certain organizations that are finding it valuable and you want it to, scale, okay, understood. But specifically law enforcement is slightly odd.
They might want to use it as kind of a test bed to develop the face recognition software further. So you remember the scene from what was the movie with Tom Cruise pre-crime?
Minority Report.
Minority Report. There's a point where he's walking through, and he has someone else's eyes surgically implanted, and he starts getting all these customized ads targeted as he walks by these electronic billboards. They could want to do something like that, or they could have a drone delivery service that can drop things directly to you, like, oh, I ordered a sandwich. I'm Sarah Lane. I will be sitting on the front of my building. You sit there, this drone spots you and just hands you. You know what I mean? It's not that far off. There's a couple of stories here. One is kind of the intersection between the desire to have law enforcement with these body cams as a way to kind of have a check on their behavior, right? Like, you just can't go willy-nilly do things without us knowing about it. On the other hand, it also opens up and widens the divide, because typically underserved or marginalized communities are more likely to interface with police in the same way that it's probably not a thing in Europe, but in the US it's kind of big. 5-6 years ago, there was a lot of complaints about some communities setting up basically sound sensors in their neighborhood so they could triangulate where gunshots were coming from, right? So they could determine, instead of just saying, I heard a gunshot in the neighborhood, they knew where it came from, and the police could have additional information. But a lot of civil liberties organizations, including the ACLU, said that was a violation of privacy by having all that information. I think we're coming to a point, and it just goes beyond, but a general discussion with technology is we're coming to the point where technology can do all these things that invade our privacy, but also offer benefit to the public. Where do those lines get crossed? Where are those boundaries between what's for the public good versus the individual right? And I think we're probably going to see more of these issues crop up over time as a lot of this technology matures into something that a lot of companies can use on a commercial basis.
Nothing to add. Absolutely.
It was very good, Roger. No, it's true. It's a proof of concept in law enforcement is obviously very important. Obviously, if it works quite well, then Amazon can feel confident that facial recognition is good in its technology. However, you're right. There are a lot of other use cases for this. Just slightly curious that this is how it's coming to light. To get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes or less, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right. Patrick and Roger, the PS4 is supposedly in its final phase of its life cycle. So what do we think about the fact that, all right, let's give it a little background. So in investor relations call, Sony Interactive Entertainment president and CEO John Tsuyoshi Kodera, thank you, said that the PS4 was entering its final phase of its life cycle. A Wall Street Journal tech reporter tweeted that Kodera also told analysts and investors that the period until March 2021 would be when PlayStation is to crouch down once to grow further in the future. Well, I mean, reading the tea leaves here, it sounds like the PlayStation 4 is a wildly successful console. So why would they be winding it down if they could still sell a lot of units?
Well, the thing is, they probably can sell a few more units. I mean, they're almost at 80 million right now. First of all, you have to wonder if that choice of word was absolutely deliberate, which it probably was, but there's a tiny chance it wasn't intended to be scrutinized that heavily. It seems unlikely because they would know that people are going to be listening to the call and interpreting everything, but still, there's a possibility there. The thing is, every console generation has a life cycle. And when he says entering the what's the exact wording, entering the final phase of its life cycle, it could be the third phase that is going to take 3 or 4 years. The console has been out for 5, so it wouldn't be unlikely that it would still have a good chunk of time in it. But it's still not in it, it's not in its prime. It's getting to a point where better technology is coming out, and you could probably make a better console for a cheap enough price that people would buy it again. It's there used to be, when this console generation launched in 2013, roughly, some people were predicting that it wouldn't work out, that people didn't want dedicated game consoles in the home, and that mobile was it now, and that consoles were going away. And so this one was probably going to be fledgling, and it would not see a sequel, kind of a follow-up with other consoles. I don't think that has panned out like that. The consoles are quite successful. Of course, the PlayStation 4 more than the Xbox One. And I think the teachings of this is that gamers are willing to buy a game-dedicated machine if it's good enough. And I don't think that Sony is going to abandon that and all of a sudden not put out another console or stop the general life cycle of consoles. When he says PlayStation, it's kind of cryptic, right? Until March 2021 would be when PlayStation to crouch down once to grow further in the future.
Well, so you think that there's a PlayStation 5 console in the
Absolutely.
works rather than it just going to some software subscription model and getting rid of hardware altogether?
I mean, that is still in the works as well. They have the PlayStation Now service, and there could be other ways of doing that. But it's pretty clear, and we have rumors about dev kits going to developers for PlayStation 5. So it is happening. Now, maybe the nature of the device will be different, and so it will be something a little bit unexpected, but there will be a new box to buy for gamers in probably a couple of years, something like that. Because remember, even when the PlayStation 5 comes out, it doesn't mean the PlayStation 4 isn't going to keep selling for a little while at least.
Right,
right. And so the thing that we mostly expect is that both manufacturers switched to a PC-like architecture for this generation. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 is PC-like. So it will be very easy to make the next device backwards compatible. Actually, Microsoft did this with the Xbox One X. It's backwards and forward compatible, just like the PlayStation 4 Pro. Microsoft is kind of committing, implying that it will be the same model going forward. Sony hasn't said anything like that. So what I would expect is a PlayStation 5 to be backwards compatible, but in the traditional way, the games that would come out for PlayStation 5 couldn't be played on PlayStation 4. And that would push people, of course, to buy the PlayStation 5. And an interesting twist is that I'm not sure how Microsoft would respond to this, because they just released the PlayStation, the Xbox One X last year. And if Sony comes out with the PlayStation 5 or announces it, let's say in 2019, and comes out in 2020, it would be strange for Microsoft to then come out with another console again. It's too close to the Xbox One X for it to be not unwelcome by gamers. So it seems that in that chess game, Sony might be getting a couple of moves ahead already.
Interesting. So is there any benefit to, there was a great write-up in CNET about the idea of if PlayStation were to forgo hardware and go subscription only. Is there any benefit to you, or do you not like this idea?
It's still a little bit complicated to put in place, because subscription would probably mean video streaming, and it's the target for this is still too small because connections aren't fast enough for most people. I don't see that happening. That is the kind of thing that you were hearing about at the beginning of this generation, and I think it hasn't panned out. We never know, but I don't think that's what the comments of John Codera meant. It's kind of a little bit of tech reporters' wishful thinking. It's people who know tech and don't know gaming as much, I think. I don't mean to discount the opinion of the person who wrote this at CNET, but it's like people who were saying, oh, everyone's going to be playing on mobile, so game consoles don't have a future. No, not really. People who knew gaming didn't think like that.
Yeah, hard to predict the future on this. But again, a lot of differing opinions. And also, thanks to your opinion, by the way, we love our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. The is the first thing I look at every morning. And facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show is where you can hang out with us on Facebook. We got an email, and Patrick, you were not on the show last week, but we talked to Scott Johnson about the idea of exam cheating in the modern age and all of the ways that students could have a smartwatch, maybe that, was giving them cheating notes and all the other options that weren't previously available to the rest of us. Pete wrote in with some thoughts on how the concept of cheating as being a bad thing doesn't necessarily help us later in life. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but Pete says, what makes us valuable to others is knowing enough to be able to find the information quickly when we can. It's our belief, though, that knowing the details on a few topics is not as useful as understanding the basic concepts on many topics. With access to information all the time, we should be testing students more on their ability to quickly provide a quality answer with modern tools they have than their ability to memorize details, which are often forgotten. The only time I find myself wishing I knew more details on a few topics rather than understanding more topics but not the details is during interviews.
Which means there is some value to at least knowing the things you're talking about in detail. But yeah, certainly that is something that has been changing with the advent of the internet. Now, any piece of information is available very easily. I remember, most listeners are old enough to remember this, but I remember when a time when you didn't know something, well, that was it. You just didn't know. You had, you had an encyclopedia if you were rich enough, and you could go look it up, or you had to go to the library. But during that evening, you couldn't pull out your phone and think. So yes, obviously that's very important. That's a change that we need to take into account.
Yeah,
however,
keep going.
No, I do think, however, it's also important to understand these things, and the line is difficult to trace between I don't need to know anything and because I can find it, and at that point you actually don't understand anything. So.
Well, it's sort of like for a long time, I didn't use GPS because I was of the mind that I should study a map. I should know where I'm going. Where's north? That was very important to me. I don't want help. That's cheating. But it's been a really long time since I've not had GPS available in my car. So it's, it's one of those things where it's I could memorize all of this, but if I can always access it easily, then the memorization makes less sense, especially for younger students.
Well, I agree. First, people who think like that will survive during the oncoming apocalypse. Right. So good on them. And second, oh damn, I had a great point to make, but I forgot. So never mind.
Well, maps and memorization and all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell us next week when you're back on the show. Patrick Beja, thank you so much for being with us on Tuesdays. Even though it's very late where you are always with us, and we appreciate it. Oh. Patrick, what has been going on with you, and where can folks find what's been the latest?
Well, you can go to frenchspin.com or follow me on Twitter. I'm not Patrick there, on Facebook and Instagram as well. E3 is coming up. It's going to be the big fiesta for gamers where everything new gets announced. So you could subscribe to Pixels, my podcast about gaming, where I cover all of that. And it's going to be a super fun time. We'll probably do a summary in DTNS Labs games that you can get on this feed. But if you want more details, you can subscribe to Pixels. That would be great.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. And also thanks to all of our patrons. DailyTechNewsShow.com/support is where you can find out all the ways that you can support our show and help us give you the news every weekday. Patreon.com/DTNS is where you can get a lot of exclusive content. Patrons, you know it's good. And please check out our new gear. Roger and I just got a message that our DTNS hats are coming. I will be wearing mine as soon as I get it. DailyTechNewsShow.com/store. We got hats, we got sweatshirts, we got t-shirts, we got mugs. You got everything there. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We are live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
Bye.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Patrick,
Boom.
thank you for filling in so many of the blanks for me.
No worries. What blanks? There were no blanks.
Well, no, certain stories you knew more about it than I did.
Oh, I just made up stuff.
Yeah. You know.
You're the one who will have to deal with the emails saying, Patrick was just full of crap.
No, it was great. It was awesome. It was great.
Roger, I will send the audio to Slack. Does that work?
Yes, that would be perfect. Thank you.
There you go. Next.
You got crunchy.
Next week you're
I'm
out.
not on. Yes.
You're out next week.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I said that you would be here. Week after.
Well,
week after.
Week after.
The audience will be incredibly disappointed, I'm
They
sure.
will.
Yeah, I'm in Paris too. It's going to be interesting to travel with the baby.
Is this the first
Yes, first plane
international
ride.
trip?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
first
very,
plane ride.
very, very scared, but I'm sure it will be fine.
Make sure they're nursing or sucking on something on the flight up. It helps pop their ears with the change in pressure.
The what?
So when the plane starts taking off,
Right.
have
The
child
ears.
either nursing on a bottle or whatever,
Okay.
because that motion will help pop the ears as a pressure change in the
Right.
with the pressure change in the cabin.
I thought if they were young enough, the drums weren't formed or something, and they didn't get the pressure thing.
That could be the case. I just do it as a matter of course
Okay.
because no one wants to be in the plane ride for a very long time with a screaming child.
That is true. Me, including me. So maybe I'll try that.
How long is the flight from where you?
3 hours or so.
Long enough.
Long enough that it can be unnerving. But all right. Thank you very much. I will go.
Right. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Patrick.
Thanks, guys.
Safe
Thanks.
travels. See you soon.
Comcast saves war drivers of trouble. Don't steal my Wi-Fi. A Fortnite prize of epic proportions.
That's pretty good.
Instamute. There's no place like 127.0.0.1. Amazon pulls a Farva. Farv.
Oh,
Farv. Right?
I don't understand that.
No, I don't. I don't understand sports references.
I mean,
really
some
bad.
I do, but I don't understand that one. Something about
Farva.
pulling the. I don't know. I like a Fortnite prize of epic proportions. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's putting money where your business will be. Like that's a
100
huge-
million. I mean, I know that maybe that's not as much as it used to be, but for
it's not going to be one pot, right? It's going to be
exactly
sprinkled around.
sure.
But I mean, it really underscores the fact that they understand what they have and they want to keep it going, if not growing, to maintain interest in their product. I mean, that's why Blizzard does all their gaming leagues. I mean, they don't crank out a large number of games, but the ones they do are intensely they have intensely loyal fan bases, and you can take most of those games and convert them into a competitive match. And that's what people want, to compete in an arena where they are kings.
Have you ever been to an esports thing in person?
No.
I haven't either. I'd like to go though.
I've seen them, and I know the Blizzard Overwatch Arena is out here in Burbank, but I haven't. I don't know. I thought about popping in, but I don't know. I guess you need to get tickets, and then you got to sit through an entire match of a game I only half understand.
Yeah, that's my problem too. I like the spectacle idea of it, but I'd probably have to be more familiar with the game for it to make a lot of sense.
I tried sitting through watching a StarCraft match, and I was like, yeah, I guess. It wasn't. Wait, he said he sent it to me through Slack. Oh wait, he hasn't sent it yet. That's fine. That's fine. I was hopefully everyone caught Tom's roundtable yesterday in Australia with Raj Dute and Peter Wells. I can never mispronounce his last name. Apologies all around. But it was a fun show. It's a little late for us, but it was good.
Yeah, and everybody who has been. Oh shoot, we should. Well, no, because now it's over. Yeah. Never mind. Everybody who went to either of the meetups in Sydney or Melbourne in Australia, I hope you had a great time. Let us know. Send us a photo.
Some sort of anecdote about something funny that happened. Like Tom ordered onion rings, but he didn't understand that onion rings were something different in Australia.
Are they?
No.
They might be.
He tried to order a blooming onion. We don't have those. We just call them onion rings.
What's the okay? So, you guys made fun of me for saying Foster's beer a couple of weeks ago because Tom was like, "Nobody drinks Foster's," or maybe that was you.
That was me.
Yeah, it was you.
Foster's.
But like, okay, so what's an Australian? I don't know, household name appetizer that you just don't see anywhere else.
Vegemite.
You can get, well, that's not really a dish. Something that's like,
it depends on who you talk to. I see people eat it out of the jar, which is pretty nasty. Yes.
God. Vegemite and Marmite are both they're so salty and oof.
It's good for you. It's good for you. They
Is
say.
it?
Well, that's what the packaging says. It's good for you, right? It has to be healthy.
I don't know. I mean,
hundreds of thousands of Australian school kids eat it every day.
I remember being I don't know, somewhere in Europe, like backpacking many years ago, hanging out with some Australians, which is, I mean, they're great travelers. You'll see them everywhere. And a lot of them had Vegemite, like packed in like a little travel Vegemite packed in their backpacks.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that they could eat on the road and be comfortable and have their condiment of choice.
You put it on bread. You put it on crackers.
You put it on everything. But
Yeah.
I would say the same thing about butter, but
well, butter is, it's pretty big throughout most European colonized areas of the world. I think a very unique thing would be beets in burgers, like slices of beet.
Oh.
They put those in burgers.
Instead of tomato?
Yeah, I don't think they use tomato.
Yeah, it would kind of be one or the other, I would think. That sounds weird, but maybe not bad.
They also do, which is something recent, is the smash avocado, which is just basically guac. That's not guac. It's just avocado on top of a toast, but very thick piece of artisanal toast. And then they charge you an arm and a leg for it, supposedly.
Oh, they have that in the US as well. That's for sure.
I am so over artisan anything, small batch anything. You know what? If Wonder Bread makes a decent whole wheat grain bread, I will buy it and eat it. But they don't, so I won't. But I get it, but I'm not paying you $5 for toast. I mean, there were places that were charging you $5 for toast. It's like, no.
Well, yeah, I can remember a specific place in San Francisco called The Mill. It still exists. That I think the toast was $6. It was very thick, and you would have a topping of your choice, like butter or cinnamon or something between the two, and it was delicious. Not gonna lie, the best toast I've ever had. But $6?
No.
It became sort of this like joke among everyone who ever got it because we all felt really stupid about it. But you could say the same thing for coffee, right? Yeah. If you're drinking coffee because it's your ritual, you want to wake up, it's morning, whatever, you don't necessarily have to pay $5 for that either.
Yeah.
But some people care and some people
like it. Some people like drip coffee. I mean, Australian coffee is very much what do they call it? A flat white, which is just kind of a variant of an espresso. This is very interesting because it's a type of coffee, but it's not the only coffee. But they really love it. And I was like, sucks for everyone because I don't drink coffee, so it doesn't matter to me. And it's weird because it's hard to be the guy that doesn't drink in a country that likes drinking, because there aren't really a variety of soft drinks like they are here. Like there's like everyone and their mother seems to have a root beer, a ginger beer, like some sort of cream soda or cherry soda. But there, I mean, the pickings are pretty slim. But if you want beer, there's a lot of different kinds of beer.
Well, so I mean, they have Coca-Cola and that's
but like it's
just not the variety.
I like to visit new lands so I can see what kinds of soft drinks they're drinking.
No, it's true. I mean, on the artisan tip, it's like, if I don't want a glass of wine, I'll be like, do you have a cranberry ginger infused Arnold Palmer?
Well, so this is the thing I loved about Japan was all the non-alcoholic and non-coffee beverages, right? You have Pocari Sweat, you have infinite variations on like a milk-based, like it's like a better tasting quick, right?
Right.
Like strawberry, chocolate, whatever, mango flavored. I mean, there's just a huge variety, and that was just fun. It's like, woohoo, I can get all this stuff, and I don't have to be weirded out because there's no alcohol or anything in it.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Gotta stay hydrated and filled with sugar.
I got like a green juice thing yesterday. Like I didn't want a kombucha. Just, I don't know. I'm tapped out on that, and I didn't want water. And I was like, I want something very refreshing. And that thing was so sugary that I ended up like pouring it into a big pitcher with a bunch of water and put it in the fridge for a while so I could drink it. It was undrinkable the way it was.
Wait, it wasn't kombucha. It was just but it was a health beverage? Or?
It was like I don't know. What's the company that Coca-Cola actually bought? No. Maker of fruit drinks, fruit smoothie stuff. Adwala. Like an Adwala.
Those things are really, really bad for you if you don't like mix it with a gallon of water.
That's what I said. I mean, I can't, like, I don't know how anybody could like pound that.
I love iced tea, but this is the thing. So I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar with the Honest Tea brand, a line of teas. When they first came out, they added very little sugar. Like at most it was 10 or 12 grams per like 16 ounce bottle. Over time, they started adding more sugar, and all the stuff I used to like became undrinkable. Like it was like, I understand the desire to make it a little sweeter, but it really doesn't quench the thirst. If something's too sugary, which is why soda doesn't help, you can drink a lot of it, but you're never really quenched because you're also ingesting a lot of sugar. That's just not helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people's threshold for sugar is just way higher than mine. If I drank an Adwala, I would have like a horrible headache for the rest of the day. Too much sugar.
Feel gross. I just felt like I would have just pounded a bag of sugar.
That's
a problem.
Right.
And then, especially as you get older, you run the risk of, the diabetes and stuff because you spike your blood sugar level, and you go through that kind of sugar high and then fall back down, and it's that falling back down that's just not fun.
No.
3rd Street. So Drew Nielsen in the chat rooms has suggested I try a brand called 3rd Street. So let me look at this up. 3rd Street. I've never heard of them.
A new tea?
Yeah. Ooh. Sounds like a sketch comedy group. Here it is. Ready to drink teas and lemonades in single serving size. They have a tiger, and it looks like a leopard or a jaguar on the label. Here, let me share this.
Let's see it. Oh.
Wait, do that.
Well, it kind of looks familiar to me. I don't think I've ever had one.
They have chai. They have lemonade. Half and half black lemonade.
So what I always do is I just go to the sugar count, and I'm like, anything over like 10 grams.
Oh, 19.
Especially if there's more than one serving size.
It's an 8 fluid. Oh, it's too much sugar.
Too much sugar. Okay. They just trick you into thinking.
Let's see, the sugar's 0 grams of sugar. That might be
all right, well, that one's good. There you go.
That's one thing I'm going to try not to do is get my kids hooked on sugar. I mean, it's hard. It's going to be a hard thing to do, but she already likes ice cream. But everyone loves ice cream. How can you say no to ice cream?
When I was a little kid, my parents did not let me have sugar. I mean, not regularly, maybe like special occasion, but like there just wasn't no candy, no sugar, no stuff like that in my house. And I think the idea was that I would learn to not want it. But as soon as I was like old enough to buy my own candy, that's all I ate.
It's like, this stuff is great. Why did you hide this?
I mean, I guess I've come back around finally because I'm like, sugar's the worst. But it definitely backfired on them for a while.
You know what else is the worst is having to say goodbye, but we have to for this episode of Good Day Internet.
Well, we hope you had a wonderful day or night or whatever, wherever you are. And we will see you and talk to you again tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.